And then I got him on again today, and it's important news about the drug war, but it just pales in significance. But I'm just kind of apologizing on air, not for Kevin. He's a great guest and intelligent guy, that we should have been covering more what's happening in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Libya, you name it, because this could lead to World War III. And a lot of analysts are saying that. But let me tell you who is covering it. DrudgeReport.com. Let's put them up on screen. Video shows urban warfare in central Cairo. That's the capital of Egypt, folks. I know most of you know that, but in case we have new listeners. Protesters, guns don't scare us anymore. Hundreds and hundreds dead in the last few days. Some jump off bridges to avoid gunfire. At least 27 dead more in new clashes today. Tourism faces meltdown. Yeah, that's the only thing propping up the economy. Reuters has a live feed. Dozens of phone calls from Obama, Hagel, Kerry ignored by top general. Yeah, well, Obama's gone to Martha's Vineyard to vacation again and go boating. So, Saudi king calls on Arabs to stand with Egypt. Egyptian military promises to rebuild Christian churches. Good job for them. Now, over on the left-hand or right-hand side of Drudge, he has the real key intel. The Nile runs red. Incoherent Obama policy under fire as violence spreads. Speak softly and carry no stick. U.S. credibility in tatters. Peace, killer of U.S. Marine released. POTUS, party time on Martha's Vineyard. I just mentioned that. Rand slams Congress for funding. How does your conscience feel now? That's funding Morrissey, which Rand warned against. Congressional staffer. And it just goes on from there. Now, here's why you need to go read all those articles on DrudgeReport.com, so you have the facts about what I'm about to tell you. To explain things, I don't have time to get into the whole geopolitical breakdown, but basically there's this. If you watch the movie Lawrence of Arabia, that's based on the true story of almost 100 years ago, a little under 100 years ago, how the British went in, funded the Bedouins to basically take over much of what is Saudi Arabia today and Syria and surrounding countries. And they carved out the most radical sect of Wahhabists, like the super enforcers, holy rollers of the Muslims, basically, of the Sunnis, of the majority group. The Brits are always smart with their empire. They went to deal with the biggest group, 80% of Islam, and the most radical sect of that, which was like 1%, but now is the majority, basically in control of Saudi Arabia. And projecting their empire worldwide. And they've got to deal with the globalist, okay? And you go back 3 years ago with Hosni Mubarak, who was a 31-year dictator, trained in the West, but was a stabilizer just like Saddam. Folks, he said, I'm not giving Libya to al-Qaeda and the radicals. They're too dangerous. You want to destabilize things. They had him house arrest, drugged up. You never heard from him again. And they carried out this program that's in the PNAC documents, and that Wesley Clark also talked about, a plan to bring down 8 countries to deindustrialize them and create absolute squalor, put in radicals so the Pentagon's got somebody to bomb and could have no-bid weapons contracts, black hole, not a U.S. interest, as has been pointed out by many top analysts we've had on, an interest of defense contractors. Themselves owned and run by hedge fund hyenas that just look at bottom lines. These people are going to cause World War III, according to every top analyst out there. Left, right, center, conservative, libertarian. But Rand Paul and Ron Paul have had the nerve to come out and say it and be attacked by all the neocons and all the authoritarian left people. And you've got the authoritarian left, the neocons, circling the wagons together, trying to put al-Qaeda in all over the Middle East, raising unholy hell, okay? And Saudi Arabia, we've heard rumblings of this from our NSA sources, Wayne Madsen and others that have proven to be very accurate in the past, Tarpley, others, that there's a shift, and that's why Bandar Bush was his nickname. Prince Bandar has disappeared the last few years because he was part of a coup, counter-coup, not wanting to be, or coup, not wanting to be part of this, reportedly. And that Saudi Arabia... And it's a horrible corrupt elite. Any corrupt elite becomes sick, but I mean, they're nothing compared to the New World Order. The point is that Saudi Arabia is not going to go along with all of this. That they understand that this is a destabilization that'll finally even bring them down, which, by the way, is part of the plan, finally. Saudi Arabia will be the last to fall. And then, by the way, the UN plans to make Israel fall next as the final deal for world government. This has all been charted out, okay? So Saudi Arabia, then Israel. Now, that's down the road. But look, Saudi king calls on Arabs to stand with Egypt. He said the kingdom of Saudi Arabia and its people and government stood and stand today with the brothers in Egypt against terrorism and against the attempts by, as they said in the past, outsiders to destabilize Egypt with radical Islam. Now, this is their own people. We've got a story up on Infowars.com where WikiLeaks' Julian Assange says that the only hope for America is a libertarian movement led by Rand Paul and Matt Drudge. And I think that that's really true. All he's been doing is pointing out that putting the radical Muslim Brotherhood and Morrissey in and increasing their funding was to destabilize. And because he's up there, he knows what's going on. And now that's happened. And now even Saudi Arabia has come out and said, Arabs must not side with the Muslim Brotherhood and must not side with the al-Qaeda groups, which have been their little proxy army, because now Saudi Arabia is getting what's happening here. And, of course, they've always known. It's all a balancing act with these different empires. But bottom line, the globalists want to bring down every country. They want squalor. They want collapse that allows them to buy things up. And I'm telling you, for 3 years, we've been breaking down what's going to happen in the Middle East, and it's now happening. And this is a big, big, big deal. Out of Reuters, Saudi king calls on Arabs to stand with Egypt. Saudi King Abdullah called on Arabs to stand together against attempts to destabilize Egypt in a strong message of support. Yeah, the full quote is outside destabilization. In a strong message of support for the country's military leadership read out on Saudi television on Friday. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, its people and government stood and stands today with the brothers in Egypt against terrorism, he said. I call on the honest men of Egypt and the Arabs of all Muslim nations to stand as one man with one heart in the face of attempts to destabilize a country that is the forefront of Arab and Muslim history, he added. Saudi Arabia was close ally with former President Hosni Mubarak, historically had a different relationship with the Muslim Brotherhood. It pledged $5 billion to aid Egypt after Mohamed Morsi, the Brotherhood, was ousted from the presidency last month. And again, that just further proves they're siding against Obama. And let me tell you, there's big splits in the Pentagon, big splits in even the CFR. I mean, you see them out there saying this is crazy. I mean, we do crazy stuff, but, I mean, we're going to put basically al-Qaeda in charge. And the Egyptian military, I never support military mowing down people, but when our news says, I saw this last night on CNN. I was walking through the coffee room about 9 at night, and they were like, yes, protesters firebombed and shot the military. That isn't protesters firebombing and shooting. They call them protesters in Libya and Syria when they're burning down churches. And now the Egyptian military promises to rebuild Christian churches. They have been protecting Christians that are being ethnically cleansed, and they're attacking the military bases. And you know who's giving them weapons and training. I mean, folks, they want to take every stable pro-America country and bring them down over there. Why is that? Or a country that's third party and neutral. Because they want total chaos. They're globalists. They are playing all our countries off against each other. It's called full spectrum dominance. Where the globalists fund the al-Qaeda and the Taliban, who then fund subgroups that don't even know they're funded by the central banks, who then fight U.S. soldiers. So the U.S. soldiers have an excuse to be there, so the opium can be grown, so the no-bid contracts can be given by the trillions. This is the plan. Remember the guy 15 years ago in New York got caught? Hundreds of windshields for years, got knocked out every night with a ball-peen hammer. And the police detective finally noticed, he looked this up, billboards everywhere for inexpensive windshield repair that just happened to be the perfect type for what was happening with the ball-peen. The spot windshield crack repair. And they staked out and they caught the guy knocking windows out. The owner at night would go out in just an hour and bust windshields. That's the New World Order. Busting windshields. La, 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 la. Totally amoral. Playing all sides scientifically. Might as well be Borg landing from the planet Snoopy or something doing this. And I mean that hypothetical, folks, for the New York Times says, I believe there's a planet Snoopy and the Borg are going to land.